this on YouTube. We're going to start by going over everything in the patch notes. You can see here, it's kind of a long document. All right. And then, you know, we'll talk about it. We'll try and play some of the changes and everything. And here we go. So obviously we got some new bundles, both the Baker Olympia as well as the Gommel Clarence skin. So if you would like to support me, be sure to use creator code WAF in the store, and I will get a kickback. Okay, this is a hashtag ad. Okay, they're pretty cool skins though. So, moving on. New feature: practice while in queue. This is fantastic. I've wanted this specifically for so long. Because my hands would always get cold if I was waiting for a long queue. So, that's great. New animations for the whole cast. So yeah, they gave backward jumping animations, grounded in the air. I don't know why I didn't highlight that right here. And also teeter animations are here. I think that's kind of neat. It remains to be seen how the teeter animation is going to affect, you know, various things. Like, I'm curious how that impacts, like, you know, needle boosting and things like that, for example. You know, or like ledge slipping, like from Ultimate. I feel like that's now like really in the game because you can line it up with the teeter. We got some stage updates, right? This is the first time adjusting stages since release. Really? Wow. Fire Capital. Side blast zones reduced 2824 to 2680. That's actually crazy. That's a 200 unit difference, pretty much. And then Godai Delta, top blast zone reduced by another, like literally 200 units. That's really good. I'm excited for that. I also think that this Fire Capital one especially makes that stage not a permaban for Reno anymore. So that's really cool. Oh, let me get on streamer mode, chat. Hold on. All right. Suture says the teeter animations make getting off plats a little sticky. Yeah, I bet that's the case. I was worried about that. Also, we got some other new palettes. Yo, what's going on, Vast? Yeah, we're going through the patch notes. All right. We got some other icons and whatever. I'm not going to lie to you, chat. I already bought all that stuff. I already have it. But I have over 2 million coins, so of course. Okay. We're going to go through the general patch notes now. So yeah, obviously this is one of the big ones. They already said how they're not looking to do these kinds of big patches very often. It's going to be... The next time we're going to get one of these things is after EVO, which I think is in August. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's later this year, though. So yeah, the tumble threshold was reduced from 27 to 26. Attacks will start knocking down slightly earlier, making floor hugging less effective across the board. This sounds really great. Floor hugging no longer requires a timed input. One of our design philosophies is to make difficult options more accessible while adding depth in their use cases. Having a timed press requirement meant that a lot of players were unable to use floor hugging even at higher levels due to the speed of attacks and the lower hit pause. That was a different change they made way back when, by the way. We want to ensure that this mechanic is accessible while also focusing on making other options of the game quick and strong instead of constantly toning them down. We'll get on that later, chat. We have decided to remove the timed input in order to make using floor hugging more accessible and to be able to strengthen other options to the game. We've added several new counterplay options to encourage a greater risk reward now that the action is easier to perform. We also feel the consistency of the option will allow us to balance it better than the timed input variant, since the actual strength of floor hugging will be easier to see and dissect at all levels. I'm excited to see where this goes in the future. I think this is going to be really interesting. But I did feel that holding down was a little bit too strong, especially if you were a player like me who actually was able to get the timed inputs. You were able to do some really crazy shit with all of that. So I think that's good news. Strong attacks will now always send into knockdown when floor hugged. I think this is a fantastic change, by the way. Yeah. This is definitely a really good way to differentiate strongs from normals. And it should definitely help the low percent game because, you know, you basically need to shield or parry those strong attacks now. You can't just hold down. Yep, brand new direct counterplay. There are some exceptions, such as Force Burn, Cape hits on forward and up strong, and the late hit of Fleet's forward strong. Makes sense. Makes sense. Floor hugging will cause you to take extra damage at the end of hit pause. Combined with the tumble threshold decrease, this significantly decreases the percentages where non-tumble floor hugging is possible. The damage dealt is 1/4 of the damage of the attack, 25%. This also helps take characters out of the tumble threshold faster, even on a successful floor hug, meaning that the game state will evolve quicker on every stock. Yeah, that sounds really neat. I'm very curious to see that in a real match. Let's see. Oh, wow. Good luck in your bracket, Suture. Yep. Waveland duration, 10 to 8. This, to my understanding, also affects wavelands like on the ground, like not just like to a platform, like just wave dashing in general. But if you're trying to grab out of it, it's still, you still do that starting on frame 10. But you could do, you know, wave dash forward jab on starting on frame 8, which is a big deal actually. Holding the joystick downwards after someone hits your shield will no longer buffer a shield drop if you haven't released down yet. That's really interesting. Previously, it was too easy to accidentally buffer a shield drop after opponent hit your shield. Yeah, but I don't think you were accidentally buffering a shield drop if someone hit your shield, though. This is a weird dev note to me. That's normally what you would want to do. But I'm very curious to see how this plays out in a real match. This is certainly a nerf to holding shield on platforms, which is also a little strong, or at least it has been. Kind of curious no one's even talked about this yet. I think this has really serious implications for the meta, in my opinion. Shield dropping will no longer cap your horizontal speed. Same thing. That's actually really big. Performing a grounded attack on the last frame before leaving a platform will now perform a runoff aerial instead. Interesting. Previously, if you input a runoff aerial one frame too early, you would get stuck on the platform. This change should improve game feel in these scenarios since the player is often intending to perform a runoff aerial. I mean, I'm glad they put the word should in there because, yeah, this is an experimental change. You know, like, we'll see. Because this is also, like, combined with teetering, there's a lot more shit happening on the edge of a platform right now. I don't know about this. That's a question mark in my mind. Baby Dash will now lose half of its speed when canceling into shield. This prevents Baby Dash shield grabs from bypassing the speed limitations of normal Baby Dash grabs. Okay, sure. I actually didn't even know that was a difference. But what this implies is that you used to be able to do Baby Dash Shield A for a faster grab, which is really interesting. Vash, you said, I feel like the reason is because it's either you know how to shield effectively or not. I don't know. You could just hold shield on a platform before, and it was just really powerful. I suspect it will still be really powerful, by the way, because you just need to let go. Like, yeah. Many wall jump vertical speeds have been adjusted. Yeah, we'll get to those later. I'm sure that'll be listed down below. Air dodges will start falling 2 frames earlier. Really? This reduces their potency as vertical recovery tools while also making them worse at grabbing ledge. This will make recoveries across the board slightly weaker overall. That's really interesting. Were air dodges really even overpowered for recovering. I mean, you already couldn't get iframes off of an air dodge. Like, I don't know if this was really necessary, to be honest. I don't know why they made this change. Sliding off a ledge backward while shielding will now put you into the 25 frame ledge slip if you are previously in shield stun. Oh, okay. Okay. So, like, if someone hits your shield while that happens, not like if you were to run and shield to the ledge, you know, like people do. Gravity will no longer ease in during early knockback frames. This mechanic was originally added to make characters spend more time in the air before landing. Now that we have dynamic ECBs, this happens naturally, so the mechanic is no longer needed. Sure. Whatever. Downward sending moves will now adjust the tumble threshold to a minimum of 0.75x its original value. Yeah, this was like that universal change that they were saying. Downward sending attacks are generally weaker for offstage balance reasons. They often don't send opponents into tumble until fairly high percents. This change should make them feel more natural when sending into knockdown. This also affects the critical hit threshold, so downward sending moves will activate the purple KO effect more often. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Attacks that send away from the character, that are neutral special, Force Burn down special, will now deal more knockback when sending the opponent upward with a maximum of 1.11x knockback when sending straight up. Okay, yeah. Attacks with variable knockback angles, Zetter neutral special, Zetter up special, will now send opponents into tumble at a consistent percent regardless of the angle they send the opponent. Previously, these attacks would send opponents into tumble much later than when sending opponents downward, which felt inconsistent. I'm not going to lie, chat. I'm actually very curious about what the calculations were for this behind the scenes. I know the devs, the developers, they're never gonna show me that, because I'm just some guy on the internet, right? Like, I'm in their creator program, not in their studio, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just very curious about how they achieved this mathematically. The minimum joystick dead zone setting 50% to... Oh, sorry, it went from 10%... No, it was 50% and went to 10%. Very interesting. Very interesting. Bug fix. Fix the bug that caused buffered wave dashes off a ledge to retain their vertical velocity. Yes. Okay, I think I know what this was. I started to experience this as I learned how to hack dash the other day. This was an interesting bug. But yeah, I never got to use it in a real match before they fixed it, obviously. Fix the bug that caused characters to snap onto the stage when using a recovery move into the wall near the ledge. Interesting. Getting spiked immediately after dropping through a platform will no longer cause you to fall through platforms for a few frames. Okay. That's like a positional fix. Fix the bug that would cause characters to fall through platforms at extremely precise spacings. That's kind of funny, actually. And lastly, we have wall text performed during hit pause will no longer give you one less intangibility frame than normal wall text. I did not know this was a bug either, but that's good. I'm glad that's consistent. All right, chat. We are now finally at the character nerf section, okay? We're like maybe halfway through all of this. Honestly, maybe we start from the bottom and then we go upwards, or I don't know. A bunch of these changes at the bottom are really light, but then we have our big four. And yeah, so let's actually cover the smaller ones, okay? So Olympia, fix the bug that caused her back air hitboxes to not interpolate when switching from the early hit to the late hitbox, okay? Edalus, wall jump vertical speed 25.66 to 28. That's a really big buff, actually. Increases his overall wall jump height gain from 224 centimeters to 265. Quality of life. Up air can no longer land during the throw windows. That makes sense. If he landed the up throw, he should be able to throw you without it getting canceled by a platform. But I really want them to nerf his fair. It really sucks that's not here. And also, I think I would be okay with hitting his up E repeatedly makes him go less distance. His recovery is really, really good right now. I'm not going to lie. Maybe that's a hot take for some of y'all in the comments section, but if you played against a really good Headless, if you're not sending them into the blast zone, they're coming back. That's how it is. They just come back. Force Burn. Wall jump vertical speed 30.2 to 27.2. Wall jump height from 353 to 287. That's really massive. Arcane. Wall jump vertical height 28.7 to 26.7. Another really massive one. Loxodon. Basically, they just adjusted his F-throw initial toss to calculate better so that it will hit Abza when she comes out. Forward throw center hitbox now has a lower priority than the sweet bot. This fixes a bug where Crag would still get hit by the sour spot even when he DI'd the initial toss forward. Interesting. All right. Maple. Wall jump vertical speed 32.5 to 31. Reduces her overall wall jump height gain from 357 to 325. I'm not going to lie. Maple should have been nerfed to be in this kind of range that we're seeing here. Like 281, 280, 265, right? Why does Maple still have to get a wall jump that's over 300? I don't think that should be the case. I think this should be nerfed more if this is going to be a universal kind of thing. All right. Now we have Crag. She needs it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're not going to talk about Maple right now. She deserves her own video, if I'm being honest. Let's just stick to the patch notes for now. While Crag is a heavy character, he also has some strong qualities that aren't usually present on heavies, such as high airspeed and good recovery tools. We're toning these aspects down so that his weaknesses balance out his strengths better. We are increasing the damage on some of his heavier hitting moves to help lean into his strength more. So his max horizontal jump speed went from 15 to 12.5. That's a pretty big nerf. His max double jump horizontal speed also is 12.5. So Crag has like a new airspeed value period from jumping. Also, his air acceleration was nerfed by from 0.85 to 0.75, which is a 0.1 nerf. Crag's vertical speed is among the fastest in the game. When combined with his size, his horizontal speed allowed him to quickly control an extremely wide area of the stage. This change aims to make him feel a little more like the heavy character he is, while toning down his horizontal threat ranges. Leg and waist hurtbox radius expanded slightly, so yeah, the lower half of him can be hit a little bit more effectively. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Up tilt startup went from 7 to 9. His up tilt 1 active frames 2 to 1. So yeah, up tilt 1, the scoop is one frame now, which is not very lenient. Up tilt 2, up tilt hit 2 hitboxes shrunk horizontally. This move was too strong in a lot of ways, so we're making it a little bit smaller and slower to start up to increase the risk of precision of its use cases. Down strong sweet spot went up to 14 damage from 11. Down strong sour spot went up from 10 to 12. Forward air sweet spot went up from 11 to 12. Kind of curious to see if this makes his forward air safe on shield, if spaced. Up air sweet spot damage 11 to 12. Down air damage 11 to 12. So basically, if you're getting hit by his fair up air or dare, you're taking 12 damage. Very simple to understand. Neutral air hit 3 knockback. It went from 7 base knockback and 0.3 knockback growth at an angle of 80 degrees to 5.8 base knockback with 0.55 knockback growth at 75. So what that means though, chat, if 90 is like a pure vertical on the angle, this is going to send a little more out. So DIing out is going to, it's going to matter a little bit more. Down throw recovery, 13 to 17. That's a humongous nerf. Holy shit. The follow-ups out of down throw were a bit too consistent for our liking, making his throw to the go-through. Making this throw the go-to throw in almost every situation. It's still a very quick throw, but this should help make the follow-ups afterward more difficult to land. Rock will now be pushed away from players instead of landing and pushing the players out of the way. Okay. All right, chat. It's time for the demon of the patch, Raster. This patch sees a pretty large rework of Raster, addressing community and developer sentiment alike that he needed some changes. This patch addresses the disparity of his top-level strength while being pretty weak at lower levels. The general feel of bland gameplay, the amount of interaction his slipstream mechanic encourages from all players. This rework takes a lot of inspiration from his Rivals of 1 design with faster aerials and the reintroduction of jump cancelable tilts on hit. That's going to be fucking broken. Straight up. That's broken. We also have increased the leniency of his core confirms while reducing their strength overall, allowing for more consistent KOs while not ending stocks very early when the sweet spots land. To offset some of his new strengths, we have reduced his aerial mobility and shifted his ground speed strength from his initial dash to his overall run speed. Let's get into it. Slipstream is now active for 2 seconds when thrown and will stay in place for a total of 10 seconds. Slipstream will stay active for 4 seconds if the projectile hits a player. Slipstream is reactivated for 2 seconds when Raster hits a player. This can cause the Slipstream to last longer than 10 seconds if Raster keeps landing hits. This version of Slipstream encourages Raster to play aggressively, regardless of whether his Slipstream is active or inactive, since playing aggressively will quickly make him... since playing passively will quickly make him lose the speed boost. Yeah. I feel like this is going to be healthy for the game overall, because it's encouraging aggressive play. Slipstream will be deactivated if or when Raster is hit by any attack, not just stronger attacks. It's, good counterplay. Dash duration, 16 to 10. Dash speed, 18 to 15.6. Run speed, 17.6 to 18.25. So yeah, he's going to be hauling when he's just holding forward. The minimum frames between consecutive double jumps, 8 to 12. This reduces how quickly he can chase opponents vertically while comboing them, essentially adding a few frames to his follow-ups when his opponent DIs to end up above Raster. I'm not going to lie, chat. This is something I did not know they were going to do. Excuse me. I think this has incredible balance implications. I did not realize that this was something that they could even just tone down. Very interesting to me. Air friction, 0.28 to 0.36. Max horizontal airspeed, 13.2 to 12.6. So yeah, his horizontal airspeed has been reduced. His max horizontal airspeed in Slipstream went down from 17 to 15.6. His air acceleration went down from 0.9 to 0.8. Wow. Air acceleration in Slipstream, 1.3 to 1.1. These aerial movement changes are intended to offset the aerial frame data improvement so that good DI can be used to escape Raster's aerial combos. I'm glad that there was some thought put into this, genuinely. Forward tilt's final knockback hit. 6.5 base knockback, 0.7 knockback growth to 5.5 base knockback and 0.8 growth. Okay. Up tilt, sweet spot knockback, 7 plus 1 to 6.5 to plus 1. Okay, so it lost 0.5 base knockback. Up tilt sour spot, that also lost 0.5 base knockback. From 7 to 6.5. All 3 tilts can now be jump canceled 12 frames before the IASA frame. If they hit an opponent, this allows Raster to transition to aerial combos more quickly on hit. All hitboxes, neutral air 1. Wait, what? All hitboxes, neutral air 1. Neutral air hit 1 now send at knockback angle 65 instead of 32. Okay, so This was, I feel like this was worded weirdly, but basically every single hitbox of Raster Nair 1 will send at angle 65. Too inconsistent for a linking move, and the lower angle version was too difficult to get consistent value. That's sure. Neutral air hit 2, knockback angle went from 40 to 45. So that sends, you know, a little bit more upwards, but still out. You know, it definitely is going to be a little easier to DI in and survive. Forward air startup, 8 to 6. Forward air recovery, 23 to 20. Back air recovery, 22 to 19. Up air recovery, 28 to 21. Holy, that's huge. He's going to combo you with up air so much. Because if you think about it, right, they nerfed his jump. Where was that? The minimum frames between jumps by 4. But they've removed 7 frames off his up air recovery. So he's definitely going to be able to chase you with up air more. Like, guaranteed. That's just simple math. Up air landing lag went up. But he has multiple jumps, so I don't know. I don't think that's going to matter as much. Forward strong, because even still, right? Let's say you have your 4 frames of there, and you have your extra 1 of landing, but they took off 7 frames. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that matters too much. You're going to get comboed a lot with up air. Forward strong's front sour spot is now the sweet spot. Forward strong's sour spot radius from 45 to 55 and move 10 centimeters forward. So yeah, we can see some of the comparison here, right? You can see like this is bigger compared to here. Forward strong sweet spot went from 7 plus 1.0 to 5.5 plus 1. That is a pretty sizable nerf on a strong, but keep in mind he can still do these strongs from anywhere. Excuse me. Forward strong sour spot knockback went from 6 to 5.5. So that's kind of interesting because what this basically means is that the only real difference between the sweet spot and the sour spot is the knockback growth. So you're going to kind of reach this point where it's like, if it is going to kill you, then it was just going to kill you. Like it's not like, you know, some other sour spot, you might have had a greater chance really. Like you're just going to kind of die when you're going to die. Forward strong active frames, 4 to 2. Yeah, that was in exchange for having a bigger sweet spot. So that's fair. Up strong sweet spot radius 20 to 30 and move downwards 10 centimeters. I'm not gonna lie, this image looks kind of the same to me. Like, Chad, am I imagining it, or like, is this not just the same image? I don't know. I don't really see it. I don't know what's different here. Up strong sweet spot knockback from 7 base knockback plus 1.05 to 6.25 plus 1.05. Also the same frame reduction from 4 to 2 as forward strong. Down strong post charge startup went from 4 to 6. More difficult to combo into it. Down strong travel distance before jump cancel went from 10 to 12. Makes whiffing the move riskier since Raster will have to recover from lower. Starting a neutral special will now cut Raster's velocity in half instead of halting it entirely. Interesting. That means the height he gains from the move will depend on his velocity beforehand, making it less valuable of a recovery tool if Raster is falling. That sounds good. I don't think he should have 2 up Bs, essentially. You know what I mean? That's fair. Up special early sour spot knockback went from 6.035 to 5 plus 0.35. Up special sweet spot radius from 15 to 10. Up special sweet spot moved 5 centimeters inward. Up special sweet spot knockback angle 45 to 50. This makes up special work at securing low percent kills off stage, since DIN will be more effective until higher percents when it starts killing off the top. Yeah, eventually at higher percents, you might not even want to DI it. So that's interesting. Yo, I'm up for that monocle. Down special, throw recovery 6 to 12. Still makes it extremely good and hit, but follow-up's a little tighter. Yeah, that's like literally double the end lag. That's kind of a lot. All right, chat. The part of the patch notes that I've been dreading. Reno. We've been keeping an eye on Reno for a while now, recognizing that a few of his options were a bit more impressive than we would have liked. While reducing some of his slipperiness and defensive capabilities, while also adding extra commitment to his aerial needle usage and a few other over-centralizing attacks. Radius increased on most of his hurt boxes. Yeah, so let's just pull this up. You can see he's a little bit thicker on, all of this kind of stuff. Like his hitbox, or his hurt box, extends all of his hands now. At least on the top. Not so much on the front, but yeah. He's chunkier. Run speed. 21.25 to 19.25. I'm not going to lie to you, chat. I've already tried this out in the training mode. This part here, this sucks. This really hurts. This really hurts. This reduced Reno's ability to cover large distances on the ground. This does not apply to his initial dash, so his short-range burst move is mostly unaffected. Despite this reduction, his run speed is still the third fastest in the game, so it does not make him slow by any means. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. This is bullshit. This is straight bullshit. What this means is that he loses directly to Maple and Clarence running. And he's not going to be able to really outrun Raster either, especially when Slipstream is up. That's not going to happen. So you will get caught. Like that's one of his main strengths is supposed to be, his on the ground, because he doesn't have good air mobility, and I don't think that got any better. I mean, we'll read it, we'll find out, but I don't think that's the case. Reno can no longer fast fall during neutral special. The ability to land cancel this move from any height made using a fast fall. Whoa. The ability to land cancel this move from any height using a fast fall made this move too safe and reliable for our liking. Now Reno will need to start the move from the right height to make it safe. This is gonna really suck too, because this doesn't sound like just while you're charging the move like they said. It seems like this is going to be the case when you're throwing it as well, which I don't think that should be the case. I think if you're directly being aggressive with it, you should be getting some reward off of that. I don't know. Forward special can no longer jump cancel if it gets parried. Sure. Up special rising hitbox, move downwards. This reduced the upward disjoint. Let's take a look at this, right? You can see this stuff is much further down. Like, the entirety of his hand is exposed. Like, that's basically where you can hit him. Up special recovery window, air friction, 0.5 to 1.0. This reduces the horizontal distance he can cover with his up special, making off-stage recovery a bit more strict. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be just a bit more strict. I think that's going to be a lot. That's literally doubling the friction here for the nerf. Reno can only spawn one poison bubble per airtime. Yeah, I feel like this is fair, and this was already how I was playing the character, so I don't really care too much about this, to be honest. I think that's fine. Poison bubbles can no longer capture players for 30 frames after being hit. Yeah, that's fine. Reno is still going to be able to get hit into the bubble and survive, though. It's only if they've hit the bubble in the last, half second that this comes into effect. But you know what? This could actually affect some advantage stuff. If you try to... Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Because it doesn't say like this is just if Reno hits it. You know what I mean? Or like the opponent hits it. It seems like if anyone hits it. We'll see. Up tilt sweet spot knockback. 7 base, 0.65 growth, and 95 to 6 base and 8 knockback growth at 92. So they say this makes it less punishing, but again, 90 is straight up. So, you know, you're going to be sending more straight up. You know, it's going to be better for me to combo you out of the move if I hit it. But it has been nerfed recovery, 23 to 25 on the recovery. This is going to be really noticeable. Up strong recovery, 30 to 33, also going to be super noticeable. Hitting a bubbled player will no longer make the bubble hurt box intangible. So I think this means I can hit you in the bubble more, which is good. You know, at least there's a buff in there, even if it's really just a bug fix. I mean, overall, our recovery got drastically nerfed in this. Our neutral and our our advantage, our neutral and our disadvantage was nerfed in this. This is definitely one of the most significant nerfs Reno has ever received. And to be honest, I think a lot of this, maybe not a lot, but definitely some of these things went too far. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how some of this stuff gets reverted in the future, because I don't think all of this is going to stay. I don't think all of this is going to stay. And finally, we're on the last section we need to talk about is Zetterburn, which, thank God, my voice is getting a little tired. Zetterburn has been at the top of the pecking order for a bit now, and while we've been working on some changes to tone down some of his more oppressive strengths, we weren't quite happy with what we were testing previously. After taking time to not rush some changes out the door, we are presenting some adjustments to his aerial combo game, his effectiveness of shine, his strength of recovery, and the counterplay to his confirms. His max horizontal jump speed has been reduced from 17 to 15. His max double jump horizontal speed from 15 to 13.5. These changes reduce the horizontal distance which Zetterburn can cover with his jumps, making it harder for him to catch opponents who DI his vertical combo moves away. Thank fuck. We've needed that. This particularly makes combos into his forward air less consistent on DI away. Very fair. Air acceleration, also nerfed by 0.1, going from 0.9 to 0.8. Vertical, wall jump vertical speed, 30.2 to 27.2. So his wall jump height is going from 341 to 278. Again, where he has a more normalized wall jump compared to Maple. Maple should not have an over 300 wall jump if they were truly normalizing this stuff. Uncharged neutral special hitbox radius, 85 to 75. This is noticeably smaller. Very noticeably smaller. Big deal. Uncharged neutral special hit stun multiplier 0.9 to 0.8. Up special starting travel speed 34 to 45. So yeah, it's going to start faster, but then it will decelerate by 1.05 centimeters per frame during the travel active window. A special speed multiplier while entering the recovery window 0.2 to 0.3. This decreases the distance he travels by around 35 centimeters. The deceleration makes it a little easier to push towards the end of the movement, while also making it feel more natural overall. Up special can no longer fall through platforms during the recovery window. That's massive, actually. This is so massive. I'm excited for this one. This wasn't even listed in their dev overview, but this is big. And aerial down special can no longer hit projectiles while diving. Really? Okay. Also not something they mentioned. That's pretty big. More feasible to intercept his recovery with projectiles. So yeah, you can hit down B with projectiles. Down specials, double jump refresh cancel window will be delayed by 5 frames for each use per airtime. I actually had in my patch wish list that they would like nerf his recovery in an Olympia fashion, where they would like you'd hit his up B and would go less distance or something. But instead, they kind of did this to the down special, which is really creative, actually. That's not how I was thinking they were going to nerf the character at all. But I am glad that he still gets a jump after it, because that's more fun, quite frankly. It's just more fun. Down special, cancel animation, raise slightly upwards. Yep, so that makes sense. It's easier to hit. You can tell he's a little more, like, flat with it in comparison. It'll make more visual sense. It's good. Zetterburn's tail is now vulnerable during the first 21 frames of down special cancel, along with a previous animation change. Makes this move significantly more forgiving to intercept. Down special cancel, grounded recovery 24 to 28. Good, they added some lag to it. That's great. Down special cancel, ground friction increased, cover less distance. Also great. More strict to ledge cancel. This is something that I wanted them to do. So I'm glad that they did that. That was on my wish list. Forward tilt recovery 18 to 21. You know, to be honest with you, this seems like an unnecessary nerf to me. You know, if you hit the move, you hit the move. All neutral air hitboxes shrunk. So yeah, so let's take a look at this. Yeah. Very, very massive difference. This is going to be great. It's not going to be way more... Like, it's not going to be as frustrating. Nair multi-hits ASDI modifier against grounded opponents 0.5 to 1.0. This allows opponents to floor hug the attack while Zetterburn is rising. This also means that you're going to be able to SDI out of it, I'm pretty sure, much easier. Forward air recovery 18 to 20. This makes comboing the sour and the sweet spots of forward air into itself or another aerial more difficult. Okay. I mean, we'll see. But I feel like if you're doing it at the higher percents, you know, it's not going to matter too much. You're going to be in more stun, you know? Back air inner hitbox. That went from 5 plus 0.4 at 60 to 5 plus 0.55 at 55. So the inner hitbox is going to send you, you know, at a more upward angle, whereas the tipper is going to send it a more diagonal. So yeah, it comboed a bit too well into up strong. So we're increasing the scaling, lowered the knockback angle so that DIOA is more effective. But like they said on the dev stream, this will mean that this move can kill you. Up air chest hitbox radius 50 to 30. Wow. Move 20 centimeters upwards. This is a big deal, actually. Up air active frames 4 to 3. We've adjusted to retain, or recovery adjusted to retain the previous IASA frame. You did in fact miss it, Suture, yes. Bug fix, up special bounce window will now freeze his ECB bottom. The addition of dynamic ECBs made it so that Zetterburn could act before landing an up special, or before he could act before landing after up special bounced off the ground, which was unintended. All right, cool. That's great. Okay, chat. Before we move on to the next part of the stream, I want you to say bye, YouTube. Okay, this is a long video. This is like this is 48 minutes so far I've been streaming. But yeah, we're gonna put this up on YouTube, okay? I'm gonna make sure this gets up like later tonight even. So yeah. This is good. Going forward, I'm going to try and do more of these kinds of videos for the future. I want my channel to not just be like tournament sets, but also, you know, a place where you can find news about Rivals of Aether 2. So, and also, real quick, make sure to use creator code WAF if you purchase in the shop, okay? We got some new skins in here. Hashtag ad, okay? Hashtag ad.